So, I bought another vet trial carry, this time in Red Sail Reef. Why? Might you ask, would I buy a VDSR carry? Well, I just need gear, and no one's really doing too many gear runs anymore. So yeah, I was like, you know what, I have 35 million gold to spare. I think the last time we did, bought a carry was also for gear in Kind's Ages, and that's because no one was doing Kind's Ages at the time. So I'm like, okay, I think now 7 million, and now it's 35 million. So here you go. You'll hear some audio in the background during this video. It's just our book club. We do book clubs every Friday in my personal Discord server, so you're more than welcome to join us if you are watching this video every Friday to discuss books and movies, and we also watch movies. We were discussing like Pride and Prejudice, I believe, was the last week's book club meeting. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Enjoy.
Like at this point, it might be worth for her to outsource some of this.
Oh yeah, again, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this time. Like we're letting this go. Just it's something I would like in the future.
Yeah.
I hear Brian volunteering to link all these summaries and trailers.
So generous of you, Brian.
Wow. First of all, half of these trailers are... Okay, wait, hold on. Half of these trailers, by the way, are blocked in my territory. So. Just like the Weird Al, for some reason, isn't available in New Zealand. I'm like, what do you mean? On this whole Roku thing. But I would be so kind. If only technology didn't agree with me.
Sure.
Yes.
It's a terrible life you live, Mr. Brian.
It is indeed. It is a struggle just based off of where I just happen to be. I think this says something about society.
That's so.
Yes, Becca. I feel worse than Mr. Wickham being persecuted.
Mr. Wickham was a terrible person.
He was persecuted for something that was allegations, unfounded.
Okay, there. You got all of your trailers and all of your summaries.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! First of all, you sound worryingly angry, and again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just, I'm sorry.
All Brian's fault.
Wait, yep. No, I didn't even make the suggestion, and I'm getting blamed for it. What does this mean?
You said that I used to post the blurbs, and I didn't post them.
Madam President, I feel like you are just a perfect human being. Thank you for your service.
Are you questioning Madam President?
No, I am complimenting Madam President.
Okay, well, you all have your trailers and your blurbs, so you can vote. Make informed votes.
Yes.
I am promoting democracy.
Thank you. Just like the past few days when each and every one of our American brethren partook in exercising their democratic right. Right? Yeah. Which I'm surprised that this hasn't actually been raised during book club, because I felt like a lot of people had a lot of thoughts. But yeah.
I do have a lot of thoughts, but it was a book that people wanted to talk about.
You say that as if it's something unique to book club. Well, people actually are talking about the books? How strange.
Brian doesn't understand that.
Oh, okay, listen. I feel like I have proved in this book club that I've actually partook in this book. Okay. I gave well-informed...
in this book?
I did. I gave well-informed...
Wait, you caught this with Jane Austen? Wow. Why? How are you not on the tagline?
So, there is this saying we like to say in the book community whereby we view the book separate from the author. It's called death of the author, right? So your own interpretation of the book is just as valid and as canon as the author's so-called intent or word of God sort of thing, right? So each one of us... Sorry?
Are you making this up?
No,
no, this is real, but it's actually, it's bullshit.
No, it's actually real. It's real.
I know that it's real. I'm saying I personally believe the principle is bullshit.
So I feel like Okay, yeah, true.
The author's vision should like, imagine how you must feel if you write a fucking children's book and then it gets co-opted by the far right. Because they're like, well, in this book, you know, the little children killed the whale.
Okay.
And that must mean, I don't know, death to all the whatever, insert your minority here. Like,
but also,
no, go ahead.
No. But also, a counterpoint to that, you might have been writing a book, let's say, with a certain level of ignorance as an author, and you might not know how it might be misconstrued by the actual people that read your book, right? So this also lets you like be more mindful of how certain interpretations of your book can be like, you know, led to a different conclusion from your own intent.
I hear you.
You know,
I hear you. I'm just not a fan.
I mean, yeah, but I just feel like that's just how entertainment and literary works is just the nature of it, right? It's not just a one-way thing. It's like a two-way process, right? So, yeah.
Again, I hear why people would think that to be the case and why they would want it to be. I just happen to disagree. I don't want to live in a world where that's the case. That's my point.
I want to live in that world because then also that means that things like dog whistles, you can't have plausible deniability, right? Because, okay, imagine I write a book, a children's book, right? And let's say I actually want to dog whistle to a certain demographic of unsavory individuals.
Okay.
But I have the plausible deniability to say, I, as the author, I say that this book does not in any way, shape, or form reference these materials that are like taken out of context, right? But let's say then, you know, people are saying no, but your book still hurts a certain demographic because it's being used in that light. So then I can say, I don't take responsibility for how other people perceive my work, right? So, you know, that's a risk you will then get.
Counterpoint, you've already written it. So, like...
True. But, okay, for an example, right? Books that portray mental health or a oppressed demographic, right? There are certain sensitivities that an author has to sort of take to make sure that the book doesn't misrepresent that and cause more unnecessary strife for that particular demographic. One example that we have read was 50 Shades of Grey, right? It doesn't matter the intent of the author in that, I thought it was like a romantic, like whimsical, like story of individuals that are like, you know, like liberated sexually, but it's actually hurting a community of the,
hey,
you know,
let me okay, sure. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
How does that principle either, like, I don't think that principle in any way increases the responsibility of an author to write better or to write more considerate.
I think it does, because then instead of me writing in my own, if I want to write, let's say, about a culture that I have not done enough research on, I could just say, well, my intent is to portray them as like badasses, and then at the end it turns out that I'm portraying it as like a sort of white savior story, and it hurt that other demographic. But I'm like, no, as an author, I didn't intend to, and since my word is law, it means that you can't get hurt by it because I didn't mean to. Right?
Oh,
so I'm sorry you got offended. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying you can get hurt by it. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm making the argument of it shouldn't be co-opted for different messaging. The author's intended messaging should be default messaging, and it should be judged on those merits. If the author says this is a children's book, then this should be judged as a children's book, be it good or bad. It can be a bad children's book.
And that's where I disagree, because then you could have an author that does no research on a particular demographic write willy-nilly because, hey, at the end of the day, you have to judge according to what I...
They already do, regardless of that.
So I'm not saying that it absolves them of not being able to do that, but I'm saying that it's more of a, you can't just say that you can't get hurt because I didn't mean to.
That's my point. No. Again, I think that these two things are separate. The who gets hurt by it and what the author means are interlinked, but inherently separate?
Yeah, but
I
then
guess.
it means that you can't interpret their works from your own experiences because, hey, that's not what the author means. So, like, the curtains were just blue because that's what the author said. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I feel like that is a bit too black and white.
I guess the point
I
I'm
do
trying to make
understand.
is.
Yes.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is that my sort of preferred worldview does not limit in you finding your own meaning in the book, but if you're like, hey, I think this means this. Again, let's go away from like hurtfulness. But let's say, like, oh, there is this part that's like a beautiful allegory of childhood.
Yes.
That's how I interpret it. And then the author comes out and says, no, that's actually not an allegory of childhood. That's an allegory of aging, or, growing, like, or getting married. It's not childhood, it's getting married. I don't think it's right to say, well, I read it this way. It's as valid as you, the person who wrote it.
I see. I mean, like, I do acknowledge your viewpoint, but I still sort of disagree because then if you take this to the necessary extremes, good or bad, everyone has been influenced by someone else. So whatever story you have read, those themes, they have probably been recycled from someone else's, from someone else consuming someone else's writing, right? So there is no canon word of mouth of how to interpret certain. Yeah, sorry.
To give you an example, right?
Yes.
There is this movie that Spielberg directed, at the end of which the aliens come and they make music for a little child on a computer.
Is this E.T.?
No. In any case, and they asked him, they asked him in an interview, "Hey Spielberg, did you do this because your father was a musician and your mother was a scientist, and this was an allegory of your growing up and how your parents tried to communicate with each other, how they tried to bring two worldviews together?" And what he said, up until this moment, until you asked me, I had not considered that. But I guess it might have influenced my decision. Just because the author doesn't consciously think of that in the moment doesn't mean that they later can be like, well, I guess now that you pointed it out, that's right. I'm saying if the author says, no, that's not an allegory of that, then I feel like we should respect the author.
Yeah, I do accept that. Although I do feel that the way you're viewing it is like someone else's subjective experience. Like, you cannot make so the way I'm saying is that you can interpret the work subjectively, but you can't then say this is what they meant to portray. That's where I think
that's what
I'm agreeing
it can be
with
special.
That.
It can be special to you in whatever way you want. I'm just saying you can't be like, well, the author meant this. No. If the author says that's not what I meant, then that's not what I meant.
Yeah, you don't put words in the author. You just say that the author is also part of his own audience as well. That's like the main gist of Death of the Author, or like the concept of it. Anyway, I'm sorry for this super long tangent. It was meant to be a joke, but yeah.
Likewise,
Yeah. I didn't know if you guys were like done.
Okay. We're done.
We're done. We apologize for hijacking the conversation. We're done.
We're sorry. Yes.
Have people watched the trailers for the movies and read
Yes, I have cast my votes.
synopses?
Where did you vote for, Jessica Ray?
You can read what I voted for.
Jessica Ray of the console community, what have you voted for, please?
Weird Al.
Weird Al? Okay, nice.
I will vote shortly.
Wait, Jessica, you play console?
Yeah, I was on console before I played on PC.
What server?
Xbox NA.
Oh, okay. I play PS still.
Nice.
I play PC too, but
You guys are like almost evenly divided across 3 different books.
right.
I'm trying to drum up support for my goddamn book that I didn't write but would like to read with people.
Which book is this?
How to be perfect.
Zelda. Welcome.
Facility.
Greetings.
How's the website? Did you manage?
Alright, I'll change my vote for this one.
Wow.
Just to break it up.
Did not
Much appreciated.
Wait, sorry, Facility?
Oh, the website hasn't been finished. Other things came up. I actually spent a chunk of today filing tax reports, and I hated it.
I'm sorry.
That sounds horrible.
If only there was a reform to your current tax system. Oh well.
I don't even think that, like, it's not that it's complicated, it's just dumb. And so dull.
Although, like, I presumed you'd have, like, accounting software that helps ease the burden.
But I still have to pay, like, the different, like, the small amount of taxes for, like, each piece of woodworking sent to each municipality. Because each of them they collect their own taxes.
Nice.
So I have to, like, even if only a single item was sold in Aspen or in Denver or in Pueblo, I have to mark it. It's dumb. So like, the Pride and Prejudice wasn't, like, extended, right? Like, so are we moving to something else?
So we
Did you
can
read it?
go
Do you
back
have
to it.
opinions?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I could say what I thought of it, but I mean, it's
Yes. We would love to hear what you thought.
If you've read it.
Sure. And I read about 80% of it, and then I supplemented the last with the internet. So, but like the thing is, it's such a well-known story that I pretty much knew how the entire thing went. So, I guess I wasn't so preoccupied with the plot as just, like, the manner that the story was told. And, like, so, and, like, I liked it. It kind of seemed like a satire before, well, not before satire was used, I guess, but it was kind of like a really specific brand and, like, almost muted. And I know it's billed as like a big, like, milestone for, like, women are people too. But I guess I would have needed to be in the era for it, because just knowing about the era being like early 1800s, it would have been a big thing when, like, a woman was saying, like, no, I intend to do what makes me happy based on my opinion. But, like, I guess just operating on, like, what I knew of it, I was expecting kind of like a much bigger production of feminism or something. But, like, while I was reading it, it was a little bit more like, it was more like woven in and like not as in your face as I had just assumed, and that makes sense for 1820 or whatever.
Well, thank you. So we had a very mixed overall reaction. About half the people loved it and said it was great and one of their favorite books. And then some people liked it but found some issues, and then one person hated it.
I'm interested in the hate.
No.
What was the reason for hate?
I hated it because it felt very juvenile and like middle school, and there were failures in communication everywhere, and like a lot of the drama was like artificially manufactured just from their lack of communication. And I was annoyed by all of it. But I was the odd one out.
So I feel like I'd agree that pretty much all of the intrigue or something like that came from people either misunderstanding or not having enough info. And like the not enough info was like it was entirely in like social terms.
Yes.
But maybe I was kind of like really skimming over it, but why exactly did Darcy like sink or like what like so he told the other rich guy or his buddy not to go after her sister. And was that just because he was just like, no, she's not really into you? Like, or was it as dumb a reason as that? Or was it like, was there more to it?
No, he was a scoundrel. You're talking... No! You're talking about, Oh my gosh, now I forgot his name because Yango kept on forgetting it.
Wickham?
Wickham.
Yes. You're talking about Wickham?
Oh, no, well, it was the first guy, like when they, it wasn't, like, I'm talking about, like, how he blocked his...
Bingley?
Oh, his friend. And
Yeah.
stopped him from marrying Jane.
Yeah.
Oh, her sister. Sorry, I heard his sister.
Oh, no. So,
Okay.
like...
Yeah,
and
no.
like...
He was just being a dick.
I think he thought that he liked
she was
her
taking advantage.
a lot more, than she liked him. And that it would, it was kind of unjust for his friend. He didn't want his friend to end up with someone who was maybe taking advantage of him. But that he, I think, misinterpreted. I think he acknowledges that later. That he misinterpreted what was going on.
Which could have all been solved by just talking.
Okay.
But then there'd be no book.
Yeah, I would be fine with that.
So it's pretty much, was it like, because the book is made out to be like, oh well, he turns out to be a better guy and he's just awkward, blah blah blah. So like I thought there would be more than like a bigger reason to like stop a marriage.
No,
But-
they were literally just acting like middle school children.
So I don't know about his choice for doing that. Like, because how much exposure did he have to their relationship anyway? Like, what did he know about it? to step in and tell him to break off.
Like she was shy or something, and he took that as lack of interest.
Which is interesting, because isn't that everyone's complaint about him? I mean, it's the same issue. You couldn't read it in another person.
Yes.
I will say I did actually really enjoy the aunt, forget her name, the one who's the patron of Mr. Collins, and how aggressive she was. Everyone's being very formal, and she's just being...
Yeah, like, I liked
just
her.
like
She
an
was
asshole.
very,
Yeah.
like, forward. She said exactly what she meant.
She's like, your garden's small. It's terrible. This window sucks. Because it's faced west, and you're gonna get really hot at night. And that's like right when she comes in. I actually really enjoyed it. That's part of why I felt like it was funnier than what I thought it was going to be. Wasn't expecting that layer.
Isld, there's also the book and movie votes up for the next 2 weeks. In case you didn't see that.
You like
So-
romance, Isld? Oh, sorry.
I can.
Or you can pick Weird Al.
But I was kind of already invested in the Weird Al, like as of like last week.
From the trailer, it seems it has a romance, so I'm for it.
Oh, I didn't even watch the trailer.
Okay, sorry for the spoiler.
I've not heard of Green or Red.
They are old movies. I posted the trailers for all of them. Yeah, Lucky Number 11 is 2006, and Shakespeare in Love was like the 90s, I think.
I think Shakespeare in Love came out when I was in high school.
Let me check. 1998.
No, I was in middle school.